Hey guys, welcome to Day by Day Hacks. Over the last several weeks, we've been discussing with Luis Ortega, works here at LifeWord, but also is a pastor, and that's kind of what we've been talking about mainly is this particular Bible reading plan that you employ and that you use with your whole church. And over the last couple of weeks, Luis, as you've been talking about what this looks like in your church, it sounds like all the study time, all the Sunday school small group revolves around this particular plan that you have kind of laid out for us. So before we jump into that, let me just go over the plan, or how about you go over the plan? What exactly are just kind of the basic outline structure of that Bible reading plan?
Sure. So January, for example, bird's eye view of the entire Bible. So read it in 30 days, then take the next 3 months, so 90 days, to read it at a slower pace and ask a few questions, make a few annotations, and then slow it down to reading the Bible entirely in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And one way that I enjoy doing that, also just sometimes copying and pasting a version, and I'll do it in different versions at different times.
Yeah.
And just making the annotations and questions, the observations underneath each verse.
Okay.
But then ultimately slow it down to the 3.5 years to really do word studies and ask the deeper questions of that. But as a church, we've been doing that. We've done it a couple of times. Personally, sometimes I like to do it using even one translation of New King James or the NLT or the Spanish version.
Yeah.
Sometimes in audio in the various versions, doing that as well, just to... Because when you're studying a passage, hey, you just remember that something was said about that prophet, or that prophecy was mentioned several times, and so as a church, we're walking through that from the youngest to the oldest, and the various settings.
So as a church, you guys are doing this plan, and your Sunday school, your Sunday morning worship service, your small groups are built around what you guys are reading through the week. Is that correct? So tell me what that looks like. How does that work?
So we've done it a couple of different ways where in preparation for what the message will be, which everybody will know what chapter it will be, because we're
you can't skip a hard passage.
That's right. And that's also beautiful, because sometimes when we deal with difficult passages, hey, they can't say the pastor's throwing rocks at us, or because we're dealing with the passage that's before us.
Yeah.
But right now we're doing it to where the message comes from that chapter for that day, or that portion, or those verses, that section, and then that's the message. And then the Sunday school classes revolve around that. But in the small groups, we dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
Obviously, during the preaching, most people won't interrupt or ask questions. Because sometimes we can deliver a message and we think, hey, that was crystal clear, but there were questions.
Yeah.
And so occasionally I'll have a question during the message, but we encourage folks to ask those questions throughout the week. So if they make a small group, we dive deeper. But what about the rest of the days, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday?
Right.
We're still asking questions and prompting folks at times, but encouraging others to participate. What did you get out of that? How are you applying it? And that keeps us accountable as well, within the families, within the folks. And it's given some others an opportunity to share and speak up to what, hey, that's an interesting perspective. I have not seen it that way.
Right. So one of the things that you had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I thought, man, that is what a way to incorporate. You know, we talk about this incorporates everybody, but you had mentioned like the single mom. Or maybe it's the young college student. You know, Conway is a college town, and you've got people separated from their families, and we are to be shepherding, discipling, taking care of those people as well. Or maybe it's the kid, it's the 12-year-old who's coming to church, but he's coming without his parents, and they are our pastoral responsibility as well. And I've oftentimes struggled on how can we care for them as a church? How can we take care of them? And this is an incredible way, because they are included in the entirety of what's going on in the church. And so that's whenever you mentioned that, it just light bulbs started going off all over the place for me.
Well, and one way that it encourages us, for example, the last month, typically the last Sunday of the month, one of our younger students will bring the message, or one of our other leaders will also bring the message that's been preparing. But the very last Sunday of the month, also everyone worships together, because that's something that also I was convicted about.
Yeah.
That in our churches, we might go together to church, sometimes not. And then once we get there, we all just go to different rooms. So the single mom or the child that is growing up without a parent does not get to see a believer living out their Christian life, serving, worshiping, giving, etc. And so at least the once a month, we're all together. Of course, in the small groups, we encourage families to be together, not segregated by the different ages.
Yeah.
So that's where, again, the interactions and the viewpoints, hey, they are paying attention. Hey, they are understanding.
That's right.
This. And so,
That's right.
So that's beneficial.
So that combination of, generational worship, having everybody in there, not separating out into children's church or whatever it may be, I would imagine also presents opportunities, because if everybody's reading the same text, everybody's following this story at the same pace, to be able to point out certain things in a song that's being sung, like, hey, this makes sense, or in prayers that are being prayed, we've been reading this, and now we're asking for, just all of that stuff, how it can all just kind of fit together because everybody's on the same page there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luis, for being with us over these last several weeks in this incredible way of reading the Bible. Like I told you from the very beginning, it was compelling to me. But to just sit here and talk through this with you, to know that this is something that from the newest believer to the oldest, maturest saint can grow and benefit from, especially from within the context of the church family. Until next time on Day by Day Hacks.